Speech, I would like to thank you for showing up and being so patient with me. What if I was to tell you I had a very important discussion with Dr. Mo here, and I was coming to class today to give a little speech about it. I told you we discussed very many interesting topics, but when I arrived, I did not tell you the when or the how of anything that was going to occur that we did discuss. Would you guys be mad? I know I would. In a press conference held at the G8 summit in Genoa, Italy, President Bush and President Putin spoke together, and they did basically just what I just said I would have done to you. I would call it an attempt to make a political discussion out of a political discussion. In this speech, I would give you a brief background of the speeches, what was said, and in my opinion, what exactly was not said, and how I felt about the words that they used. And yeah. First, I'd like to discuss, the setting of where they were. Like I said, they were in Genoa, Italy. This was the Group of 8 summit. Group of 8 means the 8 most wealthy countries around the world. Just to name a few would be Russia, the United States, and since they were in Italy, I guess you guys can imagine that Italy was one of them. They were here to discuss on this weekend in 2001 economic troubles and how to advance in these problems. Both presidents were indeed addressing a problem to what they called was economic need, but I felt, however, none of them said a single word. This to me is a grave problem. The purpose or the intentions of the speeches, I still feel, is left up in the air. They said they came there to discuss what did go on at the G8 summit and to discuss the outlook that they had with each other. To give you a brief discussion of the speeches, it basically went like this. President Putin of Russia praised President Bush of the United States. I can sit here all day long and tell you that Dr. Mo is such a great lady. She is the best teacher in the world. She helped me through so many instances. How did she do that? No, I didn't tell you how, but she is that great of a person. She did that. The speech did last, I would say, only about 20 minutes, but I'm unable to give you exact times and definitions because I was unable to find it over the internet. The document was only six pages, and this leads me to believe it was 20 minutes long because there was Q&A throughout these 6 pages, and that means the press was asking questions, and press questions were about a paragraph long, each one. Throughout these questions, they were asked, of course, what they did speak about, and what they told the press was, they gave the press basically loopholes. Naturally, we discussed very sharp problems. Oh, you did? Well, what were those very sharp problems, I'd like to know? I didn't find them. They shared a dynamic idea through economic cooperation. That's great. I'm very glad to hear that us and other people from around the world are sharing a dynamic idea. How about sharing that with us? Since it's so dynamic, we'd love to hear it. They want to join forces to solve some conflicts. Well, do you have any inkling on which conflict that would be? I don't know. They didn't let me know this conflict. What I'm trying to say is they were very, in a sense, political because that's what political people do. They beat around the bush, and President Bush was beating around the bush. To some extent, they were very logical. They did say they had an idea to reduce offensive arms. This idea was actually a major landmark about 1 year later, because this was in 2001, that was going on in about 2002 after 9/11. I would imagine, like I was saying before, this is how all political people do exercise their speeches and verbal communication, because if the presidents could get away with this, then I don't understand why anyone else wouldn't choose this fashion. That's also a reason why I might step into using this way of communication in my life, because, like I said, if the presidents can get away with it, I should be able to get away with it. Both Putin and Bush were in total agreement on every level. As Putin said, President Bush had his mental reasonings were very profound and very deep. So he was always trying to build up the character of President Bush. He said that both of them were taking new steps to enabling long-lasting cooperation. That's a great thing, you know, you're showing that our country is doing well, but again, you're not showing us how, you're not showing us when, and it just failed me completely together. Bush did, like I said, the same exact thing that Putin did. He appreciates, as these are all direct quotes, but a little formatted because it was too long. President Bush said he appreciates Putin's willingness to make the world peaceful. What better of a way to build someone's character than say he's willing to make the world peaceful? I'm willing too. Agreement to the reduction of offensive arms will lead to peace. Yes, I agree that this will lead to peace, but how about you give us an exact date? Although this was something that did progress, these were just empty talks, you know? I don't understand how they get away with things like that. In my opinion, the presidents just restated the questions over and over until those 20 minutes were up and the press got sick and tired of them, as much as I did, I would assume. The pathos described by me in Putin, President In my opinion, I did not discover any cultural differences between the Russian President Putin or American President Bush. What I did discover was a great similarity, like I'm showing you here and in the previous slide, of how they shared the same quality that they wanted to build each other up and answer absolutely no questions. This was the exact thing that they shared, but there was no differences. Previously, Dr. Mo said the people of Russia, the students in Russia, described Bush as being like Mickey Mouse, or they talked down about him. But in here, I wouldn't say that Putin was on any different level than President Bush. They both indirectly pushed off every question, and their speech was basically about nothing. That's basically what I have to say about everything. But what general conclusions I had to draw up were that the setting was supposed to be a very important topic, and they were supposed to come there and give us some very important information. What they did, however, was come there and waste the press's time, in my eyes, and my time from reading this. What actually was said should be more along the lines of what actually was not said. Every question in the speech that I read, they danced around the topic and they really didn't tell you anything. Personal outlook on how they spoke, they're not complete idiots like everybody puts out Bush to be. I don't know how they consider Putin, because I'm not a Russian citizen and I don't know much about Russia. But in my opinion, they could have served us a lot better by showing us the true idea that they said they're going to have. He says he wants to adapt dynamically. They have such dynamic ways to choose and do things. Well, if you have such a great approach, how about just throw us the idea, and you guys say you're going to let your specialist handle the situation, that's fine, but how about an idea for us? I know I ran a little bit short on the speech, but I don't think I had much to work with. These guys, in my opinion, failed me. Thank you.